think how expensive CrossFit has to be in certain cities where those issues are really prevalent, and it's not because gym owners are greedy. Trust me, and you know this, John and Nikki, you know it from like your box. You don't open a CrossFit box to get rich. It has a negative effect on the outcome. But
I'm not getting rich.
Trust me. No. But you have like still keep lights on, and you have to balance our butt. And it's really difficult when the thing that can change your life can cost you $300 a month, but the thing that will sustain you, you can buy for $30. And I think that's also really tricky. I'm not saying that's CrossFit's problem. It's not. It's the focus on what's like affordable and accessible. And that's why we did the post-cancer program free. People were like, "Oh, do we have to pay a little bit?" I was like, no, free is free. You just turn up and it's free. And that's why we want to do more of these things with F45s, like with Nike, because Nike are opening up gyms across the US.
Yes, that's right.
We're doing more of these things where it's completely free to come. You will get a coach-led class for free. The only thing you got to do is give away an email that you might get an offer every now and again on, but you don't have to use the offer. And in fact, like you could just make up an email. You're still I probably shouldn't say that, but you just make up an email and register anyway. And so like, how can we make this free? And it's not just people who've been affected by cancer. It's anybody who wants to come and move and connect. And, it's very difficult for gyms to be able to do that themselves. It's, there's a great guy connected with in Tennessee who's got a gym called CrossFit Elysium, and he's doing this initiative there about trying to get more people from this town that's super small to come and get classes and get moving, and they have to stay on a program, and to keep getting a free membership, they have to hit certain things, but it encourages them to come in. So it's really hard when you look at all those things without even touching on healthcare and when you're diagnosed, what that might kind of face you pre-diagnosis and post-diagnosis. So it is hard. It's really, really difficult. And I certainly am not the person to change it at the top, where it's like, hey, if we can open a few of these things at the bottom that help, it might make a change for some people.
I do love the post-cancer program that you guys have is probably my favorite element of what Battle Cancer does, because I never really knew until you guys shed light on it for me that the people who have gone through treatment are just kind of left like almost like resourceless, right? Like they've gone through this horrific life-shattering experience, and treatment can oftentimes be so terrible and scary and painful and like all that stuff. And then, finally, when you're done with it, whether you're in remission or not, when you're done with your treatments, what people are just kind of like, okay, you're all set, bye. And how are you supposed to function? People don't know how to approach you. You don't know how to like reacclimate into everyday life. And it was just like, it was this thing that I never really thought about because I've not lived it. And so offering those folks like a proven and tested method to reacclimate back into some sort of sense of normalcy, and also to regain the strength they need to get back to their everyday lives, and the mental strength and the fortitude and whatever, like that program to me is one of the best things that you guys have ever come up with. And I was just talking to someone today who didn't know about, I was like, I want to talk to Scott tonight from Battle Cancer. And she was like, oh, what's that? And we were talking about it, and I talked about the program, and she was like, oh, well, I work with people. I work in oncology, so I work with people who go through this. And I was like, you need to know cancer. So it's just like everyone is touched, truly.
We do it in Spain. We're really lucky. We have a location that we now have multiple sessions, but you actually, when you get diagnosed, we have the hospital in the center of Barcelona that tells you that our program is available and will sign you up. So we actually, day of diagnosis, like not the day, that's a bit extreme, but like having been diagnosed, as you start to come to terms with what that journey is going to look like, you get told about it. And that's something that we want to strive to like keep doing. And that community in Barcelona, we almost have 60 athletes at a time, every time. So it really does work. But also I think there was an element that the way I wanted the model to work was that it would keep money in gyms, because we pay coaches. We pay the coaches to deliver the sessions for free. So again, instead of just taking from the gyms and saying, hey, we do a fundraiser for us and we want to do this, this, and this with it, we were like, well, we'll give you the money. Like, you do it. Like, we'll give you the toolkit and we'll give you the certification. We'll give you everything else, and just do it. And you can get people walking through your door, and brings a little bit of value back into those gyms, into those coaches. So I think that, again, not even just from a cancer related thing, there's so many other people that do really wonderful stuff. It's a really clever model to keep the community that kind of floats you semi-rewarded back into that process. And something that I would love CrossFit one day to do. You know, I was like, hey, is there any chance we could do something where instead of, you know, you do a fundraiser every year, but you redistribute that so that you could host classes and gyms could apply to then get that grant funding. And instead of just giving it to like me, give it to gyms, like just do it that way. And I think that's what we're trying to do with the F45s. And again, because we have that ability. So we now have, I think, like 8 different F45s around the world doing the post-cancer program. They didn't have squat racks. So we've put squat racks in F45s. And they lose their minds because they're like, oh, there's this thing called squatting and we've got really good strong legs and we've helped our back in. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when you do squats. And
Imagine that.
So there's such a great thing around it. And like, we don't need to own the USP. That's why constantly we give away. You just want to do a change and make something happen with it. And I always think, like, if it all was to go away tomorrow, could we look back and say, well, we managed to make a difference to some people? And $7 million is great, but you don't see it and you don't feel it, but you do. You do get those messages from people when you meet people in person. The change that affects in people is wild. And I had done that. You know, that's the coaches and it's the people. And also, like, the way that you speak and you're not afraid to say some stuff, that's what they want. They don't want to keep being like treated like babies. They're used to pain. They're used to a bit of dark humor. They're used to some mortality stuff. They want to come into somewhere where it's like, we don't care that you've had cancer. We're still going to treat you like we're going to treat everyone else. And that's, again, the other thing that we try and do, treat people like adults, not treat them like babies that have had something.
You're building community. Like that, at the fundamentally what you're doing here, particularly with the post-cancer treatment, is you're building and sustaining community. Imagine if you started CrossFit, you did it for a year, and let's just say you PR Fran. I mean, I'm having to imagine this because I don't do that. but imagine you PR Fran and they go, okay, you're done. You're fit. Get out. And now you've lost this community that you're part of. Well, it's no different when someone's diagnosed with cancer and then they go into remission or, you know, they're cured or however you want to word it. And then they're out of the medical system. They've lost that community they were a part of during that time they were in treatment. And I have to believe there has to be a sense of loss there. They're not with the people that were supporting them during the hardest time in their life. And what you're doing is the opposite of that. You're saying, all right, now that you've pushed through this, we're going to continue